All right, folks, here we go on the Sunday night. I did not think that we would be here. We were told we were not going to be here. As many of you know, I have been very supportive of law enforcement all weekend. And they put out a notice saying that there was not going to be any more updates. And now they just put something out. Admittedly, I was already in bed. I was up all night. And all of a sudden now, not only do they call a last minute press conference, now I'm also seeing 10:30 to 10:45. So we will at least get a chance to listen to it. But I'm going to give you the latest now. Yeah. Fuck. Here's what I'm going to cut to. Good evening, everybody. And I want to give you information on what's going on. But from what I understand, they have let the suspect go. So, I started getting a bad vibe about this. I'm not going to argue. That's fucking bullshit. Plain English. You can call it whatever they want. But I would have gone. Now they're saying 10:45. Well, it was 10:30 a few minutes ago. I'm not going to get there in time. So we'll carry audio. I don't know if they're going to say anything. But from what I understand, I'll give credit. They have Channel 12 DC is reporting that they have let the suspect that was in custody go. I'll give him credit. Now, Tim White is saying this is likely significant. Mayor Smiley said they didn't anticipate anything further unless there was a development. Now, but Ted Nesi of Channel 12, he has put out that they let the suspect detained earlier has not been charged. Person of interest detained earlier has not been charged. All right, I want to back up then. So they're not saying they let him go. So now they're saying it's going to be coming up in a couple minutes. Initially, they were saying that it was going to be at 10:30. So now it's to 10:45. So, folks, I'm not trying to make this about me. I admit I have not slept, but 10:45, I would have hopped in the fucking car and gotten down there. When I looked at it, they said 10:30. I'm not going to go barreling in like, a jackass that then I don't make it on time. So now, admittedly, and I want to stay calm here, admittedly, this morning they had one at 7 and they really didn't say anything. So I found out about that. Granted, I was up and then I fell asleep for a few minutes. And the next thing I know, they're having it, but they didn't say anything there. And they actually didn't listen. Admittedly, they didn't say anything at 12 noon either. So, but to back up, I did go to Coventry And I'll say, the Providence police, I know they've been awake all night, but there's something that I want to get to. We have some time. They're saying something significant. I don't know what to think at this point, but the person has not been charged. And you guys deserve, my loyalty is to you. So I don't know that. But I'll say this, it is very possible. Now I should actually be cautious what I'm going to say. But it is very, very possible that the FBI jumped the gun. It is. Because, and we're going to find out coming up, but it's very possible. There's certain things out that, first of all, how about the fact there's different photos? So, like everyone else, I mean, it started with the president announced they had someone in custody, and then they didn't have anyone in custody. And then, we had, last night there's a manhunt, and all of a sudden, now the FBI, they put out that a tip Providence police led to FBI Marshals Coventry detaining a person of interest in Coventry at that, whatever, the place I was at this afternoon. So suddenly now, totally different photos, two different people. So now you're hearing national authorities are national. John, don't do that. I've already been through that. I've already gone through this. Stop doing that, guys. How many times have I have not slept, and I'm trying to get through this. I want to go through this. This is important. I don't know what to make of this, other than we've been talking about it all night offline. So I'll go through. I was there. I'm not going to argue about it. I'm going to ask the mods to get things under control. I'd like to. I'm dealing with bullshit here. I just said, because when they said it was going to come down, I had to make the decision that I would not get there in time. Now they're saying it's at 10:45. And I'm not going to book it in there. The train still. I'm actually pissed off about it. They posted the whole thing that they were done for the night. And now they put in a surprise press conference. So why are you not there? Because I just said, because I'm not in Providence. I was in Providence earlier. I was in Providence. I got to Providence at 3:30, and I was there until 6:30. And then when I was checking, they said, we're not going to have anything tonight. Now they have something. I know. And there's two different photos. I know. I wonder what they're going to announce and what could have changed. I want to try to figure out. It does actually surprise me. Yes. Now, I want to back up. When I left there today at 1:00, they said we're probably going to have something in a couple hours. So I came home, I ate, watched some of the Patriots game like everybody else. I went to Coventry to the hotel. And then, I then drove to Providence. I don't want to keep saying that. Thank you, Nick. And now all of a sudden, this is a surprise press conference. But the person they have in custody is not being charged. So I Let me see. I know there is a way to do it. So we're going to find out together. Wow, this is really. There's some other things that I don't want to jump ahead because maybe they do have an announcement. But Channel 12, I'll give them credit. They're saying the person that they have detained is not being charged. So does that mean is the person still out there that is the person of interest? I don't know. Let me see if I can. Obviously, I'd like to pull it up and share it on the screen. But I'm not convinced that there's going to be anything significant announced. Now, they just put it out that they call, for those of you that follow the media, they have a thing that they call a lid. So, and when they do it at the White House, it means that basically they're done for the night. So when they put that out, that's what that means, that they're done for the night. And they did that there would be no other that there'd be no other press conferences tonight. And now all of a sudden they come out with this. So let me see if I can. I mean, I think I should be able to. Okay, maybe I can make this work, which would be glorious. Let me get rid of that. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to stay focused here. All right, that is not going to work. Let me try. This. Let me just see. After telling reporters just before 8 o'clock there'd be no further update, they call a 10:30 press conference. Then they change it to 10:45. Wow. All right. I want to let me try this. Let's stay focused. Can I? Okay. Hold on. This is so unfair. Oh. Let's see. All right, let's not. I don't want to get ahead. It could be. Nope. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let me try this. Apologize, everyone. I'm going to try something. You know, I've been doing pretty well, but this, I freely admit that. Let's see. That's not doing it. Now that is stuck. Wow. All right, everybody bear with me. Let me see if I can make this happen. Try that. Is this? Oh. Okay. Okay, hold on. Ah. All right. That's not that bad. There's the new nation feed. Okay. Here we go. All right. We should be good to go. All right. I think so. I think we can make this work. And then this way I can comment along as well. This whole thing, this could be a little challenging, but nothing's happening just yet. All right. That about Rob Reiner. I know that 2 people were found dead. You know, at this point, I'll take your word for it. I don't know what to make of that. Feed of the press briefing. I don't know, Crystal. Just stay right here. Screw them. No, we should be okay. I mean, nothing has started yet, Greta. Nothing has started yet. Yeah, we're going to try. Just leave that like that. Okay. We're going to leave it just like this. Nope, it hasn't started yet. Well, I believe we're going to find out, Felicia. That'll be answered. That's a good question. How long? Let's see. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see if we can just make this happen. Surprise 10. Well, we're going to find out. Oh, hold on. Now, how come? Wait a minute. I want to put that in. Why did that come off the screen? All right, we are not. I don't know why. I'm going to try this again. Let me try this. There it is. But how come tuning in to watch it's freezing? Let me try something. It's so unfair. I don't understand why. Like I can see it in my monitor, but won't. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. All right. There we go. Yeah, I know. I know. I think I'm getting a new laptop for Christmas that can handle this a little bit better. All right. It should be okay now. We don't know that. Okay. What fucking nightmare this is. Let me check on the side. Listen, I'll tell you what the value is going to be. Number one, I doubt they're going to take a lot of questions. Number two, the value here is going to be when afterwards, then we can break it down. So, yes. Now, see, someone said he's getting released at midnight. And then I say, how do you know that? And then they don't say anything. Thank you. Yes, a lot of people recognize my voice. All right. Well, nothing has happened yet, but there's a couple of the compliment there, Stephen. I haven't slept. We're not resetting the internet now. We're going to wait and just suffer through this. I don't think it'll be that long, and I don't think they're going to announce anything. So there, we were waiting for. Here's who the person is, and uh, and these are the charges, and we're not getting that. Look at this. Two, one. It is, and it's just been going crazy right now. It should be happening momentarily. First, they said 10:30 start. We're to share since they haven't been planning to hold any briefing tonight. Okay. But let's just wait, and we'll get through this. That's why exactly right. There's no lag. Thank you, Marie. So listen, this is bordering on a I know that, Faith, but the real value here is going to be afterwards. The real value will be I can break down for you afterwards. So just stay patient, everybody. Down Maine, for those of you that followed that, many times I'm not making excuses, but many times when you have too many law enforcement agencies get involved. It throws things off. And this you have some problems. So no, that's okay. That's okay. Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. So nothing has started yet. Now, first they said 10:30. If I had known, if I had known, then I would have but but the conference has not started. I want to go back to that you have a situation inbox me. You inbox me. You're the ones at 10:30, and they did not. Then they said, and now here it is, 10:54, and if I had known, I would have gotten there, and then we wouldn't be dealing with this. So, but stress, if the mods can put in, everybody be patient. Oh, why did they say 10:30? Because the football game. It could be. I don't know what to think. But if they're not charging this individual, and we have someone saying they're going to release him at midnight. Yeah. Do we have any mods here? No, no, no. I don't know what to make of it. Hearing and okay, we can. Eric is saying he thinks that a lot of information is being deliberately hidden. I don't know. Uh, then 10:45, and now they're trying to said they're going to have it at the Providence Public Safety Complex, and we wouldn't be dealing with this. So it could be, yes, total waste of time. It could. So they could say that he and the wife were stabbed to death. Okay. And tomorrow could be the verdict in the Brian Walsh trial. Home. TMZ is reporting they were found with knife wounds. So that does sound like someone broke in and someone stabbed them to death. That's just terrible. Body 78-year-old man, 68-year-old woman. Terrible. What is going on? Victims of a homicide. You know, that I apologize for the lagging. Yes. Thank you, Carney. And start at 11. Thank you for that, Rick. The governor will be ladies at the bridge. Oh my goodness. Ah. I want to repeat. I really didn't sleep last night and then I was on the Patriots game. I was back. I went to the public safety conference, and then here we go.
Good evening. I'm Providence Mayor Brett Smiley. In just a moment, we'll hear from Rhode Island's Governor Dan McKee. Then we'll ask for comments who had been detained earlier today, and the Attorney General can speak a little bit about the rationale for that. But we want to inform the community that individual will shortly be released from Providence Police. We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. I said earlier, which remains true, which is ever since the initial call a day and a half ago. So
then we'll ask for
status of safety in our community remains unchanged, and we believe that you remain safe
followed by
in our community.
Interest who had been detained earlier today, and the Attorney General can speak a little bit about the rationale for that. But we want to inform the community that individual will shortly be released.
/Brown University shooting number of 40. And I know there's been some frustration from members
Threats to
of the community and others about,
and so the status
investigation was and continues ongoing, and we will continue to endeavor to not confirm any information that is not yet confirmable. And that is how we can best be transparent with all the members of our community, to share the best information that we have. I'd like to invite the governor to say a few words, and then we'll hear from the Attorney General specifically with regard to the individual.
Yeah, thanks.
So our position stays the same. The safety of the people in the state is a top priority. The response impact tell you committed to continue to bring the resources of the federal government into this case. So it's in the Providence state, all our resources to support the city, the mayor, as well as
the language that we've been using about
Brown
the
University
interest and such, and that
community at large.
speaks to directly the fact that this investigation will continue to endeavor to not confirm any information that is not yet confirmable. And that is how we can best be transparent with all the members of our community to share the, like doing in regard.
Safety of the people in the state is a top priority. The response an all-in response from the state relative to any of the continue to tell you that Colonel Weaver will be here shortly and continue effort from the state side and the state police. In addition to that, I just got off the phone with with to provide all our resources to support the city, the mayor, as well as Brown University and the community at large in the area of Brown University. In addition to that, we see
So last night, me in the command post, where there were literally dozens of leads. It is difficult at the hospital, but this is what these investigations look like. Group and go one another, and that's exactly what has happened over the last 24 hours or so. Team it led to the detaining very recently that evidence now points in a different direction. So what that means is that would be released and name leaked to the public. To put that very carefully here, there is too much at stake for the victims of this horrific to take to this investigation. What I anticipate seeing go amplified by the state police, by the FBI, by the ATF, by the DEA, and justice in this case. But this could happen very quickly. Well, to public patient with us, has done a long, terrific, he's leading a great team here. Again, I wish you could have seen the work the other night. You have not yet solved this case, but I'm confident. So, Chief Perez?
Thank you, General. Yeah, good evening. We're here again today, obviously, to I'm going to reiterate what the General just stated, as well as the Mayor. This person of interest will be released, and I want to make sure that we all understand that this was a very complex investigation, and it's still it. Point, we'll continue to follow on every lead that comes our way. Our federal partners are on board. We'll be meeting again tomorrow with them and continue to do the work that we need to do. We did a thorough investigation, examined, ended up drafting some search warrants, came up with, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough. Obviously.
So we have no way of knowing. And the investigation is ongoing. We continue to follow the Brown in the building have been examined, and at this time we have no additional actionable information from the video that has been reviewed from the building, and so we're and you are nearby. The video that was released was the corner of Hope and Waterman streets.
Specifically said in his tweet that it was the tip from Providence police that led you all to Hampton Inn. Can you confirm if that's true, and what exactly was the evidence that led you to this person of interest?
Yeah, so it was there was a tip that came in, just like we were taking any other tips, and that one came in specifically identified a person of interest, which was this individual. And so our detectives got on it, just like they got on another, but this specific one, it was actually picked up by the FBI, and they followed through, and they ended up coming and located this individual of interest. And at that point, we did our thorough investigation, examined, ended up drafting some search warrants, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so the person was released. Go ahead.
Actually, a question for the Attorney General. What is the standard in the state of Rhode Island for detaining someone before they are charged? How long are you allowed to do that? And I guess ultimately, if this individual who was detained is not found to have been part of this, will the Attorney General's office or the state of Rhode Island exonerate him anyway?
Well, Pat, what the case law tells us is that we can detain someone for a reasonable period of time if there is evidence such that points to that person being involved in criminal activity. So, evidence doesn't appear on your doorstep and you have answers to it within the first 15 minutes. So let me just paint what I hope will be a clear picture. There's obviously evidence at the scene. That evidence at the scene may link to a particular individual. So when you have a person of interest, you try to link the evidence at the scene to that person of interest. Well, that takes time. That requires testing. Some of that lab testing can take an entire day. So over the course of the day, while we're following up leads elsewhere, those initial leads may come back positive or may come back negative. Here they came back negative. So we're in a position where we are now going to release that person of interest. But that's the way these investigations work. This isn't. Well, look, Pat, I'm not going to get into exonerating people in writing or orally or otherwise. There was a quantum of evidence. There was a quantum of evidence which justified detaining this person as a person of interest. We continue to do our job. We're going to keep doing that. There may be other persons of interest. Hopefully, they will be in custody or detention very soon.
Can you specify what that
Weapons, there were multiple reports describing weapons that were found at the scene. Can you say whether or not there were weapons recovered at the scene? And did that describe the evidence you described?
Listen, I am not going to, and I can't imagine the chief would either, is to lay out directly what evidence is at the scene. But what I'm telling you is at any crime scene, there is evidence that links the perpetrator to the crime. When you have a person of interest, you try to link them to that particular or heard of that evidence. It could be all kinds of evidence, Steph. It could be fingerprint evidence. It could be ballistic evidence. It could be DNA. It could be a whole host of things. I'm not going to get into that.
It's safe to say that the audience here tonight can talk more about the role. I know that it's emphasized that Bob will be the head here.
Yeah.
Kind of the role of what that looks like.
Well, look, in a situation like this, and I go back to the double homicide of Amy Shute and Jason Burgess 25 years ago. It's all hands on deck to try to canvass locations, look at electronic evidence, identify witnesses, track those witnesses down. So every agency brings something else to the table. State police certainly bring something to the table, but ultimately this is Providence's case, and they are the lead here, and they have the most boots on the ground to do most of the work that needs to be done. Yeah, well, again, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but what I will say is over the period of time that a person of interest is detained, again, you try to develop evidence to bring potential charges against that person. And if you can't develop that evidence and you release them, that happens plenty of times in the course of our criminal justice system here and everywhere else. So while that was being done, Providence and our law enforcement partners continue to work other leads. That work continues now, and we'll pick it up again in the morning and keep going. That was the video evidence that was deemed most useful at the time to try to apprehend a suspect.
You mentioned the video as well. Can you explain exactly what made other videos, I guess, not as helpful? There were other. Can you explain what videos have you been able to look through, and what made those videos not as helpful? Because I imagine at this point in the game, everything is useful. So why not use that?
So because the investigation is ongoing and it may end up later being useful to then connect a dot, we're not going to release information that might be used at a future point in this investigation. But because the question has come up many times in our previous briefings, I wanted to be clear, because it seemed like there was this unanswered question of or concern that perhaps the video evidence inside or available from Brown had not yet been reviewed. It has been reviewed. And as the general pointed out, the video that was shared to the public yesterday, is the most useful video that we have at this time that can be shared with the public for the purposes of helping identify an individual.
If we had that video, you'd have it. Obviously, if there was a piece of video that we could show you a face and say, this is our person of interest or suspect, you'd have it. So we're releasing video evidence that helps solve that problem and answer that question. Not all of the evidence, other video that may be something useful in a prosecution down the road.
So this is a similar situation to where we found ourselves yesterday morning, which is we spent that first night and appreciated the shelter in place allowed Providence Police and our partners the freedom to move more quickly, to gather evidence, to work a complex crime scene. That first chapter of this investigation has concluded. And so when we lifted the shelter in place earlier, it was because we felt that it was an appropriate time to do so. All we had in custody was a person of interest, or in detention was a person of interest. But that was not the reason that the shelter in place was lifted. The reason the shelter in place was lifted is because, again, since the initial call came in at 4:05 a day and a half ago, we have not received a single additional specific threat to the Brown community, to the Providence community, to the Rhode Island community. And so police had and appreciated the flexibility and to have fewer people on the streets to be able to do their job. And there is no reason that we are not recommending at this time a new shelter in place. We do not feel it is necessary. As I mentioned at the outset, in order to provide an enhanced sense of safety, you will see an enhanced law enforcement presence in Providence and on the Brown campus. But that is so that people can have the confidence and comfort to still take their kids to school tomorrow, to if Brown's canceled classes for the rest of the semester, but we know some kids are still making travel arrangements to head home, to do so calmly, safely, and we want to provide that extra comfort with an enhanced law enforcement presence.
So the call just came in just now. Yeah, so at this point, obviously, we'll be responding, but it's too early to tell if that's actually an accurate. A lot of times those calls come in and they're not confirmable, but we'll check on that. Yeah, we can expect, obviously, police presence. You can expect us, the police department, continuing to follow leads. You can expect what the general and the mayor has stated, working with different of our federal partners. And you can expect that we're going to work extremely hard to bring that person that's responsible for these acts to justice.
And yes, we will expect to brief regularly going forward. It's hard for me to say what that frequency will be, but the community deserves to know the progress that we're making in this investigation, and we will share that progress. And from time to time, if there is no update, we will come up and say there is no update. I'm sure that I was asked many times this morning if the Providence community should breathe a sigh of relief, and I said they should. I imagine that the Providence community feels a little bit more anxious right now than they did an hour ago, and I understand that. And so we will provide regular updates going forward so that we can be as honest and transparent as we can be through this process, because that is the best way for our community to trust the officials and law enforcement officers who are working really hard on their behalf right now.
Attorney General, I ask you respectfully, first of all, let me claim that most of the people in this room are familiar with that organization. You understand the complexity of these investigations. You need to make those critical. So the question that we continually receive from Rhode Island is that in a state where somehow if you have a speeding ticket and a flock camera or some other speeding cameras in county, how you can have a position where there's hundreds of cameras in that immediate area, maybe thousands, I'd love to know how many. How is it possible not to have any other evidence surrounding this? And this is ordinary Rhode Islanders reaching out to law enforcement, and they're confused by that. Quite frankly, some of them are terrible.
Well, look, there just weren't a lot of cameras in that Brown building. Is the reality? It's both of my kids were engineering students and were in that library a lot, class of 19 and class of 22. The reality is it's an old building attached to a new one. So there just isn't, Pat. I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to go out and find whatever evidence we can to solve this case as quickly as we can. I mean, we're not holding back video that we think would be useful. And I don't think I should even have to say it.
All right. Well, folks, that okay. Hold on. Okay. There's a lot there that we just went through. I want to hear some of your thoughts. I will answer questions if I can. This is and I'm not going to mince words. First of all, I apologize for some of the glitches. If you followed when we just came on and started to just remind people if you're watching on Facebook and so forth. So I'm going to tell you, this is a disaster, right? Let's be honest. This is a, but let me ask, the FBI screwed up. The FBI went to that hotel with U.S. Marshals, Coventry Police, and they announced that they had a person of interest. They thought they had the person. And, once the Providence Police got him and started to go through, quote, some of the evidence and talk to this individual, they realized that it did not work out. So, but Sammy is exactly right. And come to this. First of all, for those of you that watched some of the, I was asking, is this, I'll tell you, number one, obviously, I'm just going to focus that they said 10:30. If I had known it was going to be 11, I would have been there, but let's just get pushed past that. It didn't happen. I was asking, they're sending everybody home. Could be one of the students at home. Now, everyone asked about the cameras. From what I understand, it's an old building, but a new building, and they don't have all the cameras established in that building. The image of the person, that may not be the shooter. So I think this is very frightening. Now, you also heard when I was there at the press conference, I said, shouldn't they be asking for people? I even said today, what do you need from the public? So this is a problem, and I'm not making excuses for anybody, but when law enforcement gets heavy, and you saw it in Lewis and Maine, as I said, in some of these instances where they're trying to help, but they create more problems. But this is a disaster. This may not be solved. This may not be solved. For them to say, to the mayor, so if anyone lives in there, if you have ring camera footage. I mean, there is nothing good about this. Yes, look up the definition of suspect. It's terrible, Janet Dwyer. That is, I don't know about that. They told Trump they had him. They wanted to throw him off. I don't think so. There was a false alarm on someone they thought that they had. That is true. There have been several false alarms here. So, but I think it's no. Let me be very clear for a moment. They did not get that tip, and if you were listening earlier, the video at the hotel did not show this person of interest. He said he didn't leave his hotel room all night. Is there a way that he could have snuck out the window? So I don't believe that. I don't believe it's not a matter of that. This makes the Providence police look terrible. This makes the mayor look terrible. The Mayor Smiley initially seemed great. Where this broke down was when they allowed, there's several things here, but when they allowed the FBI to basically announce that they had a person of interest. And Kash Patel posted on X, we have them, FBI did it. That threw everything off. And, this is, what do we know? First 48 hours. So you are now starting at ground zero. Everyone from the campus has now left the campus. If they would have asked, why did you? Well, I was told they could go home. I think by all means, this is now they can't charge this guy, and you got to realize that they look to um, whether or not if they could, you can't just bring charges on this guy. That can't happen. So now look at how, and this is also really important. I believe the leaks were coming from, well, there's several places the leaks could have come from, either the FBI, either the U.S. Marshals, potentially Coventry Police. But when you have national correspondents based in D.C. saying top law enforcement officials uh, believe they have this person, and they even put out. So first you had somebody with hair, then they changed the picture to a guy with dark hair, and they're trying to make a link of, and now it's no one is so from Wisconsin. Then they were saying no, he's got an apartment in D.C. But let's this afternoon, this morning when I was there, I was saying that was pretty impressive that police were able to in less than 12 hours, but that's not what happened. So now there's several things at play here. You have a mass situation. They clearly did not get a handle on who the individual was. You've heard the Attorney General, Peter Neronis, saying, I could show you, we have a murderer out there, frankly. God, do we ever? Wow. This is such a disaster. And I get, and how about the fact, folks, we're all kind of congratulating themselves and, Governor McKee, and they're all up there and taking bows and so forth. And this is, I mean, you tell me, to me, this is this is just this is a total disaster. So it is unbelievable, Gina. Yep. His family's address is all over Facebook. That started with, by the way, the Washington Post and NBC News. They were the ones that broke the name. So that I saw. Imagine how they feel, the students that come out. And on top of that, now you also, if you saw, I think the night press conference, I said, Chief, what at the airports? Right? Like, shouldn't you have somebody at the airports? Brown is international. Folks, I want to come back to, I don't know what to make of this, other than obviously tired like everybody else. I don't know. Who could go to school tomorrow? Oh my God. And on top of that, the politicians were making the rounds and taking bows. And then you had Sabina Matos, we got him. And this whole thing. There is, as far as I'm concerned, there's no way to spin this other than this could go down. Thank you, Jane Rice, by the way. Jane is the only star sender that I see. I mean, this could go down. And I don't know exactly. There's a textbook of what not to do in a situation like this. I know the media. Amtrak. So I want to come back to the Amazon delivery person that I have connection to, and I'm going to interview him tomorrow. He claimed the shooter was Asian. And then, number one, I have people attacking me for putting that out. That's what an eyewitness, Amazon driver, was bringing a package in, and they leave the doors open on Saturdays. So there's that. Immediately, the first thing they release is a picture of a white guy with blonde hair. And then everyone's trying to make these connections. Oh my God. Daughter's preschool right next to Brown. This is embarrassing. This is the geolocation the feds talked about. I don't know what to make of that, other than when we were at the press briefing today, and someone asked Chief Perez, and I recognize there are some people that are fans of Kash Patel, but on Instagram, he's got the FBI Boston posing. He had Coventry post, that they were in on it. He kind of just said Providence police provided a tip. Kash Patel, notice there was no, boy, if I was there was no FBI agent at the press conference. It's a disgrace. Kash Patel, he made mistakes, if you remember, with the Charlie Kirk situation. Gretel, I think Brown University has a lot of power, supposedly. They have to make sure reputation isn't ruined. I don't think that's it, Gretel. I am telling you, when you have this type of, they don't have that kind of power. If anyone fired, you're supposed to, those buildings, you're supposed to have where you swipe to get in. And for some reason, they decided not to do that. They should still be doing that. If they had done that, but I don't know, maybe it is a student. I want to go to, how are the cameras this Providence or Brown? I'll answer that, Elizabeth. From what I this part of the building is part of a newer building. It's an old building, but they built a new part of it, and supposedly the new part just doesn't have the cameras up yet. His ex-post couldn't be more. Oh my God, what a disaster! I don't know. No, all I did was say that's what an individual said to me. Okay. Oh, maybe that's. Oh wow. Okay. All right. The Brown College Republican Vice President, Ella Cook, has been identified as one of the victims of the attack. Now, I don't know anything more that the entire college Republican community is weeping. So here you have, and I don't know who this individual is, he's claiming that the Brown Republican Ella Cook was one of the victims of the attack. I don't. I'm not sure what to make of that. Hold on. So I want to go back to 24 hours ago. We had the late night press conference, and I thought when I was leaving there that tomorrow's going to be record absenteeism at Rhode Island schools. You have not only, let's look at this, and we want to keep this confined, but let's, I don't know. I'm not going to rule out anything now. Admittedly, folks, I was along the lines of, I find it hard to believe the FBI and ATF and the U.S. Marshals that they would be detaining someone unless they had solid evidence. And I was wrong. But let's get into this. Not only, thank you very much, Dan Larkin. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that they said this so late and then I could have got there. But let's get to this. So whoever did this, they've already taken a life. And many times in these situations, for those that follow it, not to be too grim here, but the hardest thing is for them to that first side. Now, there's someone out there that has already killed two, uh, eight, eight are almost in critical condition, and then one of them got shrapnel. Here's some of the things that I learned about, and we were talking behind the scenes in road patrol and then people. And is that what I understand, they could weapon at the hotel, and he did have weapons on him, but so what? He's a military guy, and he's got weapons. So now, if the tip came in like from someone at the hotel, then that is somebody just calls somebody in there. He's all in the room, and he's from out of town. I don't know how it then. That photo, the person is walking oddly. We've also learned, did you know? I don't know. Everybody has their own individual gait. Walk, GAIT, is completely different for everybody. I don't know what to make. Abigail says the guy definitely left the state. We did think that, but then look at the Charlie Kirk shooter. He wasn't in the immediate vicinity. He was a kind of a distance away. Luigi Mangione, he was then in Pennsylvania. He wasn't like on the other side of the country. But this is an absolute disaster. And let me also be very clear about this. Look at how Governor McKee wanted to be first out of this. Is there anyone watching right now that thinks that Governor McKee added anything to these briefings? You had Senator there today. You had Gabe Amo there. What was that all about? This is a catastrophe. I want to take credit. I did say, what do you need from the public? This sounds like everyone's acting like this is solved. This is a disaster, Sierra. It is. Wow. Now, everyone else, they're saying they still have evidence, but if you get a mask on and it's scattered, I'm going to have tomorrow on. He drives for Amazon. He was in the building. He kicked open a door and helped 30 people escape through a conduit. He told me, someone that I've known and trusted for a very long time, that the shooting. What's also interesting? I posted that last night. An eyewitness who was inside the building claimed that the shooter was kind of short and stocky, dark hair, and an Asian. And this was before they posted the video. And some of these idiots started attacking me because I was saying that they were Asian. The problem is there was so many people piling out of that. They needed more cameras. They needed to be able to restrict who was going in. So, you guys watch crime shows. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, terrible. I mean, there's, just beyond, there's nothing good about it. This is a word, but this is a fuck up of major proportions. If I had gone, then I don't know, then I would have been probably. I mean, they didn't announce that they had. A lot of times they say, and by the way, we also learned like Boston Marathon. That happened on a Monday. They didn't say anything Tuesday. They didn't say anything Wednesday. Late Thursday, they have the press conference and they introduce, the two hats. This one seems to be with this one. One's in a white hat, one's in a navy blue hat. Look how they arrived together. Look how this one puts the bag down. I mean, it took a little while. Couple things at play here. One thing I wanted to mention was at that press conference, Providence Colonel, the chief, Oscar Perez, he did seem caught off guard and surprised that the director of the FBI had put it out on X that thanks to the great work of the FBI, marshals, police, and a tip from Providence, we were able to solve it. So, I mean, that is remarkable. I like all of you, but I just I want to share this again. First of all, if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you follow the page. If you follow YouTube, make sure you follow, or X. I mean, we just hit 30,000. That's nice. Let me just take a picture of that. Here we go. Yes. 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 Okay. Here we go. And action. Okay. Wow. Think of that guy at the how was your trip to Rhode Island? Well, let me get back to what I was going to say. So I want to just go through what my afternoon was when I no one was arrested, Josh. Josh Fayola, they arrested this kid with the go-ahead director from the FBI. He was not arrested. I mean, he wasn't. He wasn't even he was detained. Many times when you follow when we're out, the person says, "Am I under arrest?" They say, "No, you're being detained." Many times they detain in the back of the police car, and then they end up letting them go. Not all colleges lock their doors, but they should be on top of that. Swipe your badge. Brown's really going to have to change that. And Brown, like some other universities, this is a pretty prominent professor. She is Jewish. Tomorrow's Hanukkah. But we don't know motive. We don't. I did mention that student killed vice. I thought VP of the Brown Republican Club. But couldn't you? Did they really have to? Would you really go to that class to get that person, or did they just happen to be there at that time, meaning the class? But let's break this down. So this happens Saturday afternoon at 4:00. Saturday afternoon at 4:00, and for those of you that covered, so there were three press briefings last night, and in the press briefings, one was then thrown that they didn't have an image of the suspect, and then they were saying we can't locate him in the building. How he got into the building, and we went through all of that. And then they released that video of someone that they believed they thought the way maybe was walking in his right hand in the pocket, and he comes down Hope and then takes the right on Waterman towards the water. So Saturday night, 24 hours ago, there's 450 police all over the city. And then so the FBI gets a tip from Providence. They end up at the Coventry Hotel. FBI U.S. Marshals with Coventry Police, and the FBI announces they have a person of interest. The FBI jumped the gun. I'll say it. They did. They were wrong. I'm sure they didn't mean to be wrong, but they were wrong. That is not what that person committed this. So if I were there, I would have said, what would they have been doing if they had not gotten that tip? If they'd gone to the hotel and said, okay, this guy's, got an alibi, he's not the person we're looking for, then what would have happened? So how would they have gone? Today, Brown also then canceled all finals, classes, and so forth. But it did seem, and I asked about that in fairness. I said, is that so all these witnesses and or suspects are now all leaving the area? So, that's Richard Moss. They really thought I drove 7 in the state after a fact, 45 minutes. Why would he go to Coventry? Again, one individual believe that from Wisconsin actually in DC. It doesn't matter. That's not the individual. So let's be honest about this. Did someone say he had a long gun with him? How would he hide that under his coat? Jane, if you saw a shooter with Harley, that's why I was like walking with a limp, the rifle down. Providence River. Yeah, I don't know. Well, but here's the thing, Kyle. This is ridiculous. All the technology, and they can't find this guy. Well, I don't. Not that they can't find that. It sounds like they thought they had the guy. Oh, it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. Yep. I don't know what to make of it now. I don't know. Well, let me address that. Smiley 1000% knew last night they weren't sure they had the right guy. Well, the only thing is that doesn't fit the timeline. They're saying they put him at 3:45, but they went to the home. So I don't. This is not good for Mayor Smiley. Let's put it that way. We still can't. I mean, if I had gone, maybe they could tell us, what did he yell? What did he yell? They still, and I didn't hear anyone ask that, but I would ask that. I think they need to, and I'm going to work on this. I'm going to tell all of you. I don't sharing as much as the information as they should. Boston bombing full of the Boston bombing, James, they were definitely thrown, but they didn't come out on Tuesday. The bombing was Monday afternoon. I remember it very clearly. And then it was late Thursday. And then when the suspects saw themselves on television, that's when they're on the run. So the two Chechens, the brothers. Yep. Yeah, that was not true. There were a lot of false alarms today. Folks, this is well, here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We have a lot of new people. Now we're going to, for those of you, so starting, we're going to be live tomorrow at 1. Now, if something's tomorrow morning, we'll be live on the scene. I am canceling all plans until further notice. I'm now going to really jump on this. And, we need to get to the bottom of this. So just plan on, we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to be very active this week. I mean, I was a little surprised. I mean, I did think like, wow, that was pretty quick. They caught somebody. And they did not. I mean, this is really amazing. Wow. Whew. Then you wonder if you also you have people, there were people posting false things online who it was, and I mean a lot of it, and a lot of it was on certain platforms, but it started immediately. They don't think this guy would be someone familiar with the campus. He seemed to pick a building. Alicia, I what if you saw the press night flunked out of this class? I mean, who had a grudge against someone in the class? Who are the students in the class? Who's the professor? Who has grudges with them against them? And like, who did this? So I don't think it totally differently if they were sure they had the right guy. Well, again, some people I understand are confusing the timelines. The first press conference where they leave the right person was 7 o'clock this morning. They said in custody. So last night it was a total manhunt. I don't know. I know. Follow the Boston bombing legwork. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Hmm. What about the guns, the phone? The reporter found them. He did, Beth. He did have guns, but I also learned that the guns he had didn't match that of the shooter. So then they thought, well, did he get rid of it? But why would you just get rid of that gun? I told you. There's a video of the police outside of the window at the where he was staying at the place in Coventry, and and I, I went to the hotel after the press briefing on the east side, and I learned that the guy had left his room all night. So then, and there was no video of him leaving. So then they thought, oh, maybe he climbed out the window. He didn't climb out the window. So now that guy's someone to interview. That guy is definitely someone to interview. What's his life been like since 4 o'clock this morning? That's someone else they're going to have to deal with, by the way. But in all fairness, that really comes down to that was the FBI. Now, here's the problem. See the FBI at the press briefing tonight. That troubles me because Kash Patel, and again, I recognize maybe he's got some people as fans, but you want to post like we did it, pay him to interview him. I don't know where he is. I'm sure he wants to get the hell out of Rhode Island. And I would imagine right now he's got, name him, Fox, Good Morning America, everyone knocking on his door. That guy, he could end up having a load against the Washington Post and NBC News. Big time. I know. Victoria's right. What a waste. Wasted a whole day on the wrong guy, making residents believe they had it. Ugh. It's true. They jumped the gun. Now, in fairness, one would think that the FBI would know what they're doing, but to me, see, here's the problem. One of the problems. At the end of the day, this is who is standing there, right? The mayor, chief of police, Governor McKee, so Mayor Smiley McKee, the attorney general, and Chief Oscar Perez. And yes, so they're the ones. So Did Cash Patel? It sure sounds like he screwed up. It does. They had to do a gunpowder residue test on him as well, and I had heard that it didn't match. Like right away, and Eric and I were talking about this. There were things that just did not match. So, in tell you what was a telltale sign for me was when I was leaving, and I was going to go from Providence's East, and I was going to come home and eat lunch and watch the Patriots game like everyone else. First, I in Coventry, but I said, I won't say who, but in speaking with individuals there, I said, "Do I have time? Do I have time to go home, or should I just?" I mean, I don't live that far, but like, is something going to be happening? And then, oh no, probably like three hours. I thought, perfect. I'll stop by Coventry, which I did. Learn some inside. I'm big on you got to go, on the scene, and then home, watch some of the Patriots game, recharged everything, and then I got into the city at 4 o'clock. I was at the Providence Public Safety Complex. I was almost going to go in there and go live, and then when I got there, I'm like, oh, that's funny. I'm the first one here, and I waited. I waited a little longer, and I checked, and they said we're not sure what time it's going to be. I thought, oh wow, maybe this is going to be 7 o'clock. So I went to Angelo's. I sat at the bar. There's no one there. Gemini Rob was bartending. I had a bowl, not cup, bowl of pastine soup, and I had some meat ravioli and ginger ale. And then I drove back to the public safety complex, and then I got the idea that they nothing was going to happen until then. They did this last minute thing. Ashley, I'll answer that. The person responsible, there is a murderer on the loose. They got the wrong person twice. Eric is right. When we were first listening and we picked, they you heard over the road, and President Trump put out that they had the proper person, and then that ended up the proper person, and then suddenly now we're dealing with this. So, folks, tomorrow is a new day. Make sure you follow the page, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or X. You can tell if I had little noticed, I would have been there tonight, but what did we really miss? Just an embarrassing group of public officials. So I want to thank the mods. I want to thank everybody. I'll stay on just a couple more minutes because we're about to hit 36,000. So follow on YouTube. Remember, YouTube, you can send super chats. Facebook can send stars, which are always nice. I will admit I am a little stunned at all of this, even though I just, with my family, we were talking about it, and I was telling one of my children about Jewel and how incredible that whole thing was. But Eric is right. Eric heard when they were like, drop the gun. President Trump, they already got the person. Thought, oh, wow. The gunman is in a basement of a building on campus. Now, right now, I will say, I think everything's on the table. For instance, someone sent me a message earlier saying, I think the person walking walks like a woman. And I thought, well, you don't know what you're talking about. What are chances same people that hit New York? I don't know. Someone was trying to say, is there a way that it's with Australia? Wow. Again, they didn't arrest him. He was detained. There's a difference. He was not charged. He was just detained. They had a shooting. They went and someone gave them a tip. The man had black clothing and he did have firearms. So Um, I'll answer that, Victoria Walker, but only if you'll follow the page. So, as I said, they get a tip from someone. I was told it was at that hotel, and someone said, "Hey, somebody checked in here. He's in from out of town." And they have put out a bulletin to all. Somebody checks in, male, we're in black, my town. Could have been, that they get some kind of a notice like that, and someone contacts the police and says, "Hey, somebody just checked in here and they're from out of town and they're wearing all black." And so they go down there and it was the FBI though. Providence police weren't along for that. It was only FBI, US Marshals, and Coventry police that were part of that. But to repeat for those that are just tuning in, the person who was in custody, and I did see someone put out a message on X. That's right. No, you hold on. All right, now we have, let the panic begin. Mayor De Silva, abundance of caution. East Providence police will have heightened police presence at all these Providence schools. Providence police, we're asking all video evidence be submitted. Oh, now they want the evidence. Wow. Stunning from Associated Press. Authorities now say they will release the person of interest detained in Brown University hours after the FBI director posted about the detention. So let me just say this. I have no inside information, but I think that could be a terrible offense. The active shooter is still on the loose. Oh, God. Where did I see Sheena Lucio? If you are the person of interest to know how to reach him, please. There's someone that could be getting, hey, he could be getting a payday. Oh, now the police, they're still insisting that's the person they're looking for. The video, they still believe the person in that video is the person that they're looking for. A person of interest in the Brown University shooting was released. Correction, person of interest has not yet been released, but will be released. Okay, so maybe somebody was on earlier saying midnight, and that certainly could be the situation. Well, this changes everything. I am canceling everything for the week. Good thing that wow, look at that. 36,000. All right, I'll stay on. Maybe we'll hit 40. Again, this is Facebook, X, and YouTube. But I want to repeat because there could be some people. So you had the timeline of events. Let me just send that to Bendy. It's pretty good. I want to, I have a lot of work to do, but I have to try to sleep at some point tonight. But I'm going to get that Amazon on. I shouldn't announce that that's who he is because I don't want them to then say, hey, you can't do any interviews. But for those that are just tuning in, just so everyone understands, this sounds to me that the FBI jumped the gun. And tonight at the press briefing, they were trying to be polite about it. But that's the FBI. They went, and it was them and the U.S. Marshals and the Coventry police. And they went to that hotel in Coventry. And they basically then put out saying, we got the guy. We got him. And Kash Patel put out, the FBI using geo something. I mean, I still have his tweet. Embarrassing. I think the gunman is still on the loose. This is unbelievable. So the active shooter, the murderer, the killer. Think of the different photos we've seen of first they were putting out he's blonde, Benjamin somebody. Then they put out, oh, wait a minute, he's got dark hair. Yeah. FBI Director Kash Patel. Update on the FBI response at Brown. The FBI established a command post to intake, developing, analyzing leads, and run them to ground. We activated the FBI Cellular Analyst Survey Team to provide critical geolocation capabilities. As a result, early this morning, thanks to me, FBI's Boston Safe Street Task Force, assistance from the U.S. Marshals, and the Coventry PD. Detained a person of interest in a hotel room in Coventry based off a lead by the Providence police. But make no mistake about it, we are the ones. All right, I want to. This is going to be a tough one for Mayor Smiley. Wow, what he goes from today, he's Rudy Giuliani after 9/11, and now, wow. So the mayor tonight, we announced the person of interest being released. Some of the comments. So is the shelter in place back? Watching our governor hide behind you, Brett. I cannot believe this. We have to find this guy. Who knows if it's a guy? Although they do individually yell. Notice, I want to repeat, at the next press briefing, you have my word, I will ask. I keep this. We have to find Brett. What do we do? Who's leading this investigation? You probably resign. Oh my God. What a disaster. I mean, it just is. I can't. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Try to convince you that it's not? I mean, this is, for lack of a better word, this is a full-fledged dumpster fire disaster of epic fucking proportion. Listen, the shooter could strike again. The shooter could strike again. Never mind tomorrow's Hanukkah. Isn't it? Or it's actually already Hanukkah. Yeah, Hanukkah's begin. Today's the first day of Hanukkah. Now, again, we don't know what the motive was. So, not to get off on that, but wow. Aren't we all stunned? Although, I want to bring it inside. Let me just keep. So, yesterday, 4 o'clock, they thought they had someone. They didn't. President Trump, they got the shooter in custody. They didn't. Last night, we don't know. We don't know. Here's the video. 3:45 this morning, they go into the hotel in Coventry and grab some guy from Wisconsin. I don't know what. Other than that, how was your visit to the Ocean State? Rhode Island tourism at its finest. Discover beautiful Rhode Island, they said. My God. I mean, then we have the 7 o'clock briefing. We have a person of interest. Boom. Look at that. Less than 12 hours. Mayor Smiley was on CNN. Mayor Smiley was being called the Rudy Giuliani. He was. Grace under pressure, the leader. Highest population of Jewish students at a university, reports soar online. All right. I could be Marie. I am a little surprised at that, but it could be. I would have guessed Columbia, but okay, maybe it's Brown, maybe they're neck and neck. I don't know. Do we send our kids to school? I don't know what to think anymore. Yeah, that's right, Andrew. Correction of fuckery. It is. Can you guys? I mean, I can't believe it. And you saw, I know all those people. I was leading all the questions. Maybe that's why they told me at the press conference. I am, and there's something wrong with my chat. So if anyone on YouTube that is sending super chat, if someone would just send one, thank you. For whatever reason, I can't see them. So, but actually, I think I do know how I could see them. Okay, I could see them. And anyone that's sending stars, thank you. On X, I don't know. Whatever you can do. I did click that. Okay. And then I can check that. Okay. YouTube's still lacking a little bit, but we'll get there. Big crowd on X, big crowd on Facebook. I don't know what it is with YouTube. I don't know. Let's see. With that. Let me just try this. There we go. Sure. Oh, I turned that. Okay. I want to that. Right. We'll let the yeah, that's right. Do need that. I like everyone else. I am stunned by this. I'm not sure what to make of it. And look at how how much time has been wasted here. How many leads did they not follow up with? What about my delivery guy that swore the shooter was Asian? I don't know what to make of that. They announced, about something like this, to be overly dramatic, but it was announced to the world that they had a person of interest in custody, right? I'm not exaggerating. You have students from international, and it was the lead story in all the news. Governor McKee, as the investigation continues, it does seem a little bit about 85. Thank you. Yes, this Rob. Highest, yeah, because like Brandeis, highest population in the Ivy League. No problem, Maria. You're good. Wow. Let me see what Governor Magritte is saying. Governor McKee thought, all right, I get a bump out of this. This should at least help my polling numbers a little bit. Governor McKee was he thought this was like a Joe Garrahy moment or a Governor Kachiri. As the investigation continues, police ask any relevant information or video be submitted by phone 272-3121 or the FBI tip line. Oh my God. Whew. Brown Daily Herald, person of interest, Saturday shooting will be released shortly. Huh. What absolute. Wow. Huh. But they have to. I mean, they can't keep him. He's not the guy. Oh, God. So maybe he will be released at midnight. Why midnight? Haven't they held him long enough? As I think of it, I'm sure the The meeting will be outside the public safety complex. Oh, actually, it's already past midnight. I didn't realize that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What? So, but let's go through this. So last night, as we were all saying, whoever did this comes back to also it could be a student, or the shooter could be a disgruntled former student. The shooter could be disgruntled former lover of someone in the class. I mean, it's just this is it's hard to piece together. You know, we all watch crime shows, and what do they tell you? 48 hours, the first 48 hours. So we're still within the window, but Saturday, so this afternoon at 4 was 24. So we still have some time to go, but I'm not sure. We don't have video in the building. And here's a question. Is that why the shooter targeted the building? Because the shooter noticed that they don't have a lot of cameras there. I also know of someone who was in one of the labs on Saturday morning. So now let's also be honest. You would think that you would be totally safe in a lab on the Brown campus on a Saturday morning in December. One would think that, right? But apparently not. But I find that also can't be ignored, and it's so troubling. So the person is out there. You know, here's something. What was that person thinking as Smiley, the police? What was that person thinking when they saw what Cash Patel put out? Maybe they should be looking for someone that's walking around laughing. My God. That is, now again, they didn't say suspect, and they did not say they were under arrest, and they didn't say in custody. They were being detained. And I recognize a lot of people don't understand the difference, but many times when we are out at a scene and police are trying to sort through, exactly what happened, they'll detain someone, and as many times we'll capture the person will say, "Am I under arrest?" They're saying, "No, you're being detained." So just trying to figure things out a little bit. I know. Nobody looks good here. Peter Morona comes on, berates everyone. He's actually the least to blame. They're supposed to just prosecute. He took some incoming tonight. He did. He didn't have to. But the Attorney General, I'm willing to bet it. Remember, it's the Attorney General that ultimately has to say there's no case there. There's nothing. We can't bring charges on that. It would never hold up. Stick. They did make it seem like the fear was over. Person of interest in custody, no question. Original suspect. Marie, you'd have to show me. You'd have to show me that, because the first person that started this was Cash Patel, and he started the laughing stock of the country. I think that, I mean, and I'm not, but this is on the FBI director. FBI taint of interest. If you can find where an authority, and I fully recognize that people might say I mean, at the press conference, which I was there, the chief of police said that person's in custody, and maybe, you could be right, suspect, and it's actually, it's a pretty fine line. It's not that much of a difference, but but there's certainly a difference. But it's still, he was angry. He was. Yeah, I know. Could be a she. Could be a she. All those cameras, he wasn't following the flock camera. You got to know what vehicle. It's possible. Nobody looks good here. Nobody looks good here. Mayor Smiley doesn't look good here. Chief of Police does not look good here. Pina Nerona does not look good here. Governor McKee, I finally said, if we have an update, we're going to come back. This I want to see. You sure you're not missing any more? I'm going forward then. I'll just go, assuming they're going to be late. Jesus, even that was a half hour late. Providence Police. Tonight we announced the person of interest being released. Investigation's ongoing. It actually should say the investigation is back on. Wow. Just terrible. More than 30 hours after the shooting. There's no longer evidence that he is a person of interest. Whew. So now you do have a problem. LAPD press conference on the murder of Rob Reiner. Oh, a disaster. Incompetence isn't the right word. All right, well, maybe much as we're saying Providence had a disaster, sounds like LA was like, hold on. Attorney General, Rhode Island. Sometimes you head in one direction, then you have a group go in another. There's some degree of evidence. Wow, I see someone putting Keystone Cop stuff in Rhode Island. Whew. Wow. I don't know. Now, what does this mean? Now, there's a lot of fallout from this. And what I mean by that is, I think, when someone said it earlier, there's going to be a huge amount. Here's CNN, person of interest detained in the... CNN was one of the first ones, I think, to put that. You know what else is interesting, folks? How about Attorney General Nerona? Obviously, we have a murderer, so we're not going to give away again. I don't know what to make of it, but just like everybody else. But how about the whole thing of, how old is the shooter? Is the shooter in their 20s? The shooter could be 30. Then somebody was like, oh no, they're in their 20s. So I had someone, that is the person, they have the person, and it was the person until suddenly it wasn't the person. Wow. So now look at the time lost. Today, they could have been collecting the Ring camera footage. They have essentially lost a very important period of time. Last night, obviously shocked, but then today would have been really piecing everything together. But look at the amount of time that was wasted of just going through the evidence with the tourist who was in the hotel. That's very valuable time. And then whoever did it could be halfway around the world. But I was suggesting last night that they should, in fact, but I'm not saying I don't know that they didn't do that, but put something out to the airports. So, all right. Well, folks, listen, obviously the story is not over. We have hit 40,000 watching live. Thank you. We are on the story. The story's not over. The story just began. I'm going to try to sleep, but we're ready to go tomorrow. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your support. Make sure you follow the page. There is a gunman or gun the shooter, murderer on loose from Brown University. But he stays safe.